We are going to continue our study of the book of Revelation. Today, as it was just read, we are going to look at Revelation chapter 17. But there is so much to explain in this chapter that I don't think we will be able to finish it in one part. So we might have two parts. So this is Revelation chapter 17, part 1. As you remember, we left Apostle John in heaven observing what's happening. And this is the second half of the Great Tribulation, where God has unleashed the 7 bowls of judgment on earth as punishment. And as these awful punishments we looked at are going on, one of the angels, let's read. Then one of the 7 angels who had 7 bowls came and spoke with me. So as John is looking at these things, as he's observing these punishments, one of the angels that was doing these, pouring these punishments on earth, grabbed him and said, "Look, I'm going to show you something else." Came and spoke with me, saying, "Come here. I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." Now, here's a different character we are introduced to. Who is this harlot that the angel is showing John? Who is this? A real person? Is this a country? Is this something else? "With whom the kings of the earth committed acts of immorality, and those who dwell on the earth were made drunk with her wine and her immorality." So obviously there is something immoral, sensual about this thing. "And he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet," that means red, "beast, full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So right away we start understanding something. We start understanding that this is the Antichrist. And the 10 horns is the regenerated European, the Roman Empire, which is most likely the European Union, and the 10 heads of those countries. And this harlot is riding this beast, meaning this beast is being controlled by this person, by this woman who's portrayed as a harlot, who has done bad things. "The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her head a gold cup full of abomination and unclean things of her immorality." So this woman that portrays something, is beginning to take shape. First, we're given the colors: purple, gold, and red, adorned with gold, silver, and pearls. Remember that picture in your mind as we continue. Verse 5 says, on her forehead was a name written. Now we're going to try to begin to understand who she is. "Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of abominations of the earth." Now let's park here a little bit and unpack this. Babylon as a country does not exist anymore. God punished them. But Babylon is not only a country, it is also a thought process. And there are 2 Babylons we see in the book of Revelation. In chapter 17 we are reading right now, this harlot is Babylon, the religious movement. church, air quotes, church, not real church, but religious movement. And in the next chapter, we're going to see Babylon, the financial system, the city that's going to be dealt with. But right now, we're looking at the first Babylon. What is the Babylon as a concept? For this, we must go all the way to the beginning, where it began. We are going to go to Mount Ararat. Noah lands there. He parks the boat. He gets out. He starts living, and his family starts expanding. One of his great-grandsons, his name is Nimrod. We're told in the Bible that Nimrod was a bad man. He was a great leader. He was a great hunter, but he was totally against God. Do you guys know the story of the Tower of Babel? Very short, the story goes like this. This guy, Nimrod, starts a country, a group. And a bunch of them come together and they say, let's build a tower with our bricks and tar so high up to the heavens so that we can reach God. And next time he decides to punish us with the flood, we won't be punished because we'll be so high. We're smarter than God. We want to be our own gods. And we don't want to be under his control. We want to do what we want to do. We want to get together and stay here in this city. In opposition to what God had said, he said, go forth and multiply and spread throughout the earth. They said, no, we don't want to go all over. We just want to stay here and do our own thing. So first disobedience started there. And the tower went up. As the story goes, as you know, God said, I cannot let this continue. So he said, okay, you don't want to obey me naturally. I'm going to force you. From now on, you guys are going to start speaking in different languages, and you won't be able to understand each other. So he created a bunch of different languages, and people that spoke this language stayed together, went to their country. People that spoke another language went to another country. They couldn't stay together anymore. Languages are very important. So as that happened, the whole tower thing didn't get completed. But what happens as a concept, as a They didn't have a long marriage. He died. As their story goes, after he died, now I'm going to explain some things that might sound very familiar to you. Take note of those things because it's all going to come together. After he died, they mourned for him for 40 days. Okay? You know people that do 40-day celebrations after somebody passes? It comes from there. It doesn't come from a Christian church. It comes from Nimrod. So they mourned for him for 40 days. At the end of 40 days, Semiramis realized that she was miraculously pregnant by this person who wasn't there, her husband. She had no relations with anybody, and the son was born. So she said, this is the father of the child incarnate. Is it becoming more clear, the storyline to you? So, Father incarnate into the Son, and he's born, and they name him Tammuz. Okay? And Tammuz, after living a while, dies at a young age. But something miraculous happens again. You can guess what's going to happen next. He is raised to life after a short while. And when he was born in the spring. And in order to celebrate the spring birth of this miraculous child, they started, Semiramis took these golden eggs and adorned everything. And everybody, all the people that lived there, started getting these eggs and coloring them. Is that sounding a little familiar to you? A little bit. And this is what the celebration was called. Ishtar. Does it sound like Easter to you? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Also, pagan origins. So, as the boy lives and dies at a young age, in order to celebrate his life, and then he gets resurrected, to point that out, they took a log, this was the winter, they took a log and put it in the fire to symbolize that he died. And the name in Babylonian for that log is, ready for this? Yule log. Does that sound familiar to you? It's burned up as a symbol of him dying. And the next morning, as a tradition would have it, you know what they did? They went out and cut down green trees, evergreens. And they brought them into their house. And that was it had to be an evergreen because it symbolized that he came back to life and he was going to be there. So similarities are uncanny. So this story, I mean, I didn't go into so much detail, but there's a lot of idolatry. There's a lot of pagan worship, prostitution, and all kinds of stuff. I'm sparing you all the yucky details. Okay? A lot of fortune telling and all kinds of ungodly stuff. Spells and potions and all. Temple worship. It's a lot of rebellion against God. So, but the interesting part is, this story is told in every different culture. For instance, the same story is told in Greek mythology with different names. Same story is told even in Chinese mythology, in Egypt, and in the Nordics, and those of you that like Avengers, one of the person Tammuz, the son, is actually is the character that's in Avengers, Thor. Comes from there. And another point I want to make, I'm filtering out a lot. Another point I want to make was this family was always portrayed by Semiramis holding the baby Tammuz. And because they said this was the sun god, the father was the sun, S-U-N, and they all had those attributes, they were always portrayed with light shining through their heads. So the picture you will see, statues you will find before Jesus of the mother holding the baby with halos around their heads. I just came from Armenia. I saw a lot of those crosses that was chiseled going back to hundreds of years into the rocks. A lot of them had the symbol of the sun somehow, which has no biblical value, but it does come from pagan origins, the sun, the planet. So why did I go into all this? This is the mystery religion of Babylon. It started there, and it's spread throughout the world. After the mystery religion of Babylon spread throughout the earth, when the truth came through Jesus, people were confused. They said, well, this is not original. We heard this story. This is the Semiramis and Tammuz story retold in a different way. So in its essence, Babylon, the culture of Babylon that affects the world today is one of confusion. Going back to the Tower of Babel, when God confused the languages. It continues to this day. Now, when Apostle John talks about the harlot in the last days, she was clothed in purple, scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. He's talking about a church. But let's remember, we are not talking about the church. We're talking about a church. Now, Great Tribulation begins after the rapture. True believers, the church, is gone. It's not here. But there is going to be an organization, there is going to be a structure that is called the church on planet Earth. You guys all know, not every building that has a cross on it is a legitimate church. There's a lot of ungodliness that happens. And and these churches that have these clergy people that adorn themselves with purple, gold, and crimson, red, and adorn themselves with pearls and gold and silver. And just like the priests of the Babylonian religion used to wear, they wear high hats and adorn themselves. All this comes from Babylon. There is nothing Christian about that whole picture. This is all from Babylon. It's from the high priest of Babylon. So what happened? After Babylon was taken over by Assyria, and Assyria that was taken over by Medo-Persia, Medo-Persians didn't go for the storyline so much. So all these priests and the high priest of the Babylon religion of Semiramis, Tammuz, and Nimrod, they moved to eastern side of Turkey by the Aegean coast. And that region was later taken on by the Roman Empire. So this religion went into the Roman Empire. Why is this important? Because from the Roman Empire came Constantine. Constantine claims to be the first Christian king and empire. He claims that he saw the sign of the cross as he was trying to take control of the Roman Empire. And he said, from now on, I'm going to be Christian. And then, overnight, all the empire became Christian. In essence, what he did, he took these people, these priests and high priests of Tammuz, okay, He said, well, you don't have to go away. We have a new religion. Adapt this into your beliefs. So that's where you get the adornments, the purple, the gold, the high hats, the 40 days of fasting comes from there, not from the Bible. The Easter eggs, the Christmas trees come from there. Priests being celibate comes from Tammuz, not from the Bible. Pope being infallible comes from Tammuz, not from the Bible. And Jesus said that you will know them by their fruit. Do you know that there is a church out there today that is richer than most of the countries? There's a church out there today that has killed millions of people because they were not belonging to that church. In the Middle Ages in Europe. Why do you think America was formed? All those, what's the storyline? America was formed by people that were escaping religious persecution. What persecution are we talking about? We're talking about the Inquisitions. According to some estimates, I don't know if this is correct or true, the highest number I heard was 50 million people throughout history were killed by the Roman Catholic Church because they became Protestant. Now there is this animosity from certain churches out there in the world, not only the Roman Catholic Church, but all the churches that split off from it, like the Orthodox churches, the Apostolic churches, Oriental churches. There is still this animosity towards the product of the Reformation. There is still animosity towards those people that say Bible has priority over what a priest says. Just because I don't know which church father said this doesn't make it true if it does not align with the Bible. If you read the story of the Inquisitions, I mean, what is being done in the name of Jesus is not immoral, it's just evil. The tortures that they've done to people simply because wanting to read their Bible on their own. Simply because they didn't want to join the church. So animosity still exists. I don't know how true this is, but I was having a conversation with somebody that lives in Armenia, and he was talking about the head of the Armenian church over there. He said that if you're a Protestant, this person wants to kill you. He hates you that much. I said, really? He said, yes. This is a product and the continuation of Tammuz. It's the mystery religion of Babylon. In its form, it's continuing. It takes different names. So when the legitimate church is gone, there is going to be a big church on earth with a lot of money and clout. And the way the picture we saw, that the church is riding the beast, means the Antichrist, the government system, is going to be, in the beginning, directed by the church, the religious establishment. Because it's not going to probably be called the church anymore because everybody's going to join in. The Buddhists, the Muslims, the Christians, everybody's going to join this movement. There's going to be one big ecumenical religious system. And that's the harlot that John is talking about here. And that's the harlot that is going to be thrown off the beast, the Antichrist, towards the end. Why don't we stop here? We will continue with the part 2 next week. God bless you.